Hey, gang! It is Wednesday. You know what that means? It means it's Hump Day.
Hump Day!
Hump Day! Very excited to be with my amigo, Dr. Chad Duplantis. As you know, this is Dennis in the Know Hump Day Happy Hour. We are your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. And as always, it is live and it is over a cocktail. Tonight, we're drinking one of my reasonably priced faves, a little bit of Saldo.
Great stuff right there, Jeff.
What?
Great stuff.
Yeah. Just a great middle of the road wine. Great thing to have on a Wednesday night when stresses are high. Anyway, you all know the routine. Dr. Chad Duplantis and Dr. Jennifer Bell, who cannot be with us tonight because sadly she was forced to make a trip to Aruba. No, I don't know. Life isn't too bad for our old JB, but maybe we'll hear from her sometime tonight. Maybe not, but I know she's on her way to Aruba for the Clinician's Choice seminar that's going on down there. So JB, we'll miss you, but guess what? The show must go on, just with crappy news or no news at all. Anyway, we are here to bring all of you in the know. We've got a great show tonight. We've got a little bit of comedic relief and maybe even going to talk a little bit about emotional intelligence. So those are two things that Chad and I probably are not experts at, but we'll try to talk to that. We are all so thankful. We are very humbled that we have been awarded by Dr. Bicuspid the Dental Influencers of the Year Award, which, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those things, you know, we started this as kind of a little pet project to keep people informed with good, honest information. And then the next thing, you know, we grew kind of quickly and you know, people were telling us great job. And, you know, a lot of people say that kind of thing, and it means a lot coming from people, you know, like Paul Goodman, who have, you know, such a strong site and have done so much for the dental community, and to kind of cheer us on and then to keep hearing that and then to have our viewers and listeners all say, you know, we really appreciate what you're doing. We appreciate that you make us laugh. We appreciate that, you know, you're bringing us vetted information and you're getting this to us and you're taking the time to do it. And now, you know, on top of everything, it's turned into an award, which we're going to receive in Chicago when we're there in a couple of weeks. So be looking for that. But man, we appreciate it. And thank you, Dr. Bicuspid, for the knob and for the nod, excuse me. Don't even say it, Chad. That was not a Freudian slip at all. But no, it really does. It means a ton to us, and thank you so much. And I think we have a really cool guest tonight who's going to bring us maybe some laughs, maybe talk a little bit about emotional intelligence, which apparently you and I seem to lack. But again, another reason why we brought JB into the mix. But great guest tonight. Really excited. Do you want to go ahead and introduce him, Chad?
Yeah, I do. So I met this guy in passing about 2 years ago and didn't really get to know him, but we both happened to be in an event this past summer, and it was right after my father-in-law died. I mean, literally like 3 days after my father-in-law died, I went down to went to Chicago for this event, and you know, I walked into the hotel, didn't really know anybody. I walked down to the bar, and of course, who's sitting there is Carlos. And Carlos and I sat there, man, we shot the breeze forever. And he just made me laugh. And it was what I needed at the perfect time in my life. And I'm honored to have him on the show. I want to thank him for his service. He's a Navy veteran.
Woohoo!
So he's worked for the government, he's worked in private practice, and now he's starting something new. So I want to kind of give a little bit back to him. So Carlos, thank you.
Hey,
Carlos, how you doing, brother?
I'm great. I'm great, Jeff. How are you, Chad?
Oh, good to see you.
Yeah, it's great to see you, man. We hit it off right away and started texting each other, kind of like calling each other like bad names. So I realized that he's going to be on my team forever. So
the Jersey thing. If we like you, we don't mind calling you names or talking about somebody's mom. So
yeah, that's right. That's right.
You know,
that's
they
right.
like you. You know,
that's a sign of real affection. Because if we didn't like you, we wouldn't say anything at all.
We wouldn't trust. Yeah, we would be polite around you. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
So Carlos,
you just get the New Jersey salute. You know what that is, right?
You know, it's on the turnpike every once in a while. You know.
Carlos, tell us a little bit about your journey in dentistry. I mean, after all, you're a hygienist, which is great. But where did you start and where did you end? And let's just kind of start there and see where it takes us.
I appreciate it. I just want to address one thing real quick. You said something about Jeff doing carpentry, and when I think of carpentry, nothing sounds like woodworking, like a guy named Jeff Horowitz. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
How are you not holding it right now is beyond me, bro.
That's Nobody had the over on that bet.
Hey Jeff, what did I tell you this weekend?
Exactly the same thing. I don't think anybody had any idea that I had those skills, but I like to do it, man. It's fun.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Carlos, let me tell you this story. So we go to Lowe's. Jeff and I spent 3 hours in Lowe's on Saturday morning.
Easy to do.
Which is really like working time. I'm like, man, how are we going to get this done? So we buy this big thing, that like came from IKEA that I'm going to put together. So I bring it back to the house. I'm not even halfway through this son of a bitch, and Jeff has already hung 6 shelves in the pantry by himself. And I'm sitting, and he comes out and he goes, "Hey, what you're putting together, Chad? It's kind of crooked." He was right. He was right.
I don't know, but sometimes you just find those things. So I mean, nobody knows this, but my dad owned an underground sprinkler company. And so I was the guy who would have to go out. He taught me how to do plumbing. I had to go out and do like the plumbing taps. And then that ended up a lot of times in having to like make like little separate sections in people's basements where they could hang the clock and do all this stuff. So anyway, I because of that job in high school working for my dad, just picked up a lot of weird skills that really mean nothing, and that my wife gets pissed off because I don't use around my house, but I always go help out my friends.
That's going to be a problem for sure.
Yeah.
I like to do a little bit of surprisingly, I'm pretty handy with some tools, and I have a nice collection of stuff in the garage. But anyway, enough about tools, but we're focusing on teeth right now. I started right out of high school. I left for the Navy at 17. I turned 18 in boot camp, which is a horrible day. And in the late 80s, the boot camp was not as friendly as it is now. Profanities left and right. They would call you names, and it was the 80s. I mean, what are you going to do, And our company, 187, I'll never forget, we failed an inspection. So they had something called, you got MASH. So basically jumping jacks, push-ups, sit-ups out in the sun in this little entryway. And I was the mail guy, and I had snuck away early to pick up the mail. And then I was hanging out with the laundry guys, just handing out, throwing laundry on people's bunks, when here comes my company down the thing, and they're getting mashed in this open area. So me and the 2 laundry guys are stuck in the building. They decide to leave. They get wrapped up and caught into the thing. So now I'm in the building by myself, freaking out. This is my 18th birthday. And I played it off. I sprinkled some water in my face like I was out there with the rest of the guys. And to top it all off, I got a 15-minute pass to call home for my birthday. So it turned out okay, but I was freaking out and pretty much shitting the brick the whole time. It was a nightmare, man. But good times, man. So they sent me to dental tech basic school, which is dental assisting, right? And we had, doctors, and we had hygienists teach us how to do, basic hygiene, that type of thing. And basically we were fancy dental assistants, dental technicians, what they call them in the Navy. And after that, I got sent to field medical service school. Like in the movies, when a Marine gets shot, I'm the guy that runs up with the bag with the medicine and puts a tourniquet and patches them up till we can get them out of the way. And when I got out, I went to hygiene school, which is weird because when I was in the Navy, it was all guys. And when I went to school, I was the only dude in the class. And so you kind of stand out when you're a.
Well, that probably didn't suck.
Well, no, I was married, man. And
okay.
So she had a problem with me dating. You know how women are. And I'm kidding, everybody. Relax. I'm just playing. But no, it was a great choice. And I love taking care of people. And looking the way I do, I have to try to be extra nice. And I've always loved comedy, and I would tell my patients jokes and just mess with them. And people tell me like, hey, you should do stand-up. You should get on stage. So I tried it about 10, 12 years ago, and pretty decent at it. And it's been an addiction ever since. So
what was the first time like the first time at an improv place, or at a comedy?
It was the Punchline in Atlanta. And so you sign up the week before for the open mic, and I get the call, hey, you're on next week. And now I'm freaking out. I didn't sleep. It was a Wednesday night, and I didn't sleep Tuesday, and I still had to go to work. I brought clothes, and I drove straight to the club afterwards. And
before you go on, how long is the set that they give you? And then how much prep does that take?
It was 4 minutes, and I had 4 minutes worth of stuff, but it's untested. You don't know. It's open mic. You know what I mean? I didn't know the ropes, and I forgot what I was going to say. I completely just froze up, and it was just, you don't realize how bright those lights are. And it was just sensory overload. And I just locked up, man. It was painful. Second time I go up, I said all the lines, but just ran through them. And the third week up, I got some laughs, and that was it, dude. That's the best drug in the world. I mean, you can make strangers laugh, and I think we need more of it in the world. What do you guys think?
I totally agree. And I will tell you that you made a lot of strangers laugh when we were in Chicago, man. You had us all in stitches that night. That was good fun. That was a good time.
Yeah, that was at Dr. Gupta's Happy Dentist Retreat. So
thanks
again, Dr. G, for having me.
I think you're the one responsible for making us all happy. I mean, I don't know, man. That yoga and shit was painful.
Oh, she's cool people, man. But it is a little unorthodox. I'll leave it at that. And but it was entertaining. And she's a sweet girl. But, I don't know, man. I feel like that. I worked for one company for like 20 years here in Atlanta, and that was kind of like my calling card. I'd have patients come in and be like, hey, where have you been? Where did you go? How was that show? How was your trip? How was that cruise you went on? And it was a really fun but kind of weird relationship to have with the patients, because they were invested. Like, if you're funny here in a dental office, I know you're killing it on stage. And it was kind of fed that confidence thing. You know what I mean? I don't know if that makes any sense, but
so let me ask you this question, because obviously, in different venues, there's, different points that you can take your humor to, or different boundaries. I mean, certainly in the dental office, you got to be really, really careful. Now even on main stage now, anywhere, you have to be really, really careful. But it was probably less so when you started. So, how do you find that balance, or how do you know how far you can push it as far as what you can say and what topics you can cover in comedy?
That's a great question. I'm not. Some comics will want to rock the boat and want to stir the pot, and I always write my stuff clean, and so it's for general consumption. But if you go to a late night show at the club, and I got a bunch of drunks in the audience, it's going to get a little salty. It's going to get a little spicy. And so you got to know your audience is first and foremost is pretty much the way I would go with that. And if the joke is done, if it's presented in the right way, you can pretty much get away with anything. Like I have a joke that I talk about, about the pandemic, and I've never been out of work for more than a week or two at a time, on vacation. And so I'm sitting at home for months at a time. And I came to a couple of conclusions. And one of them was that I think I might be trans, guys. I think I'm trans slender. You know what I mean? Like I felt like a skinny guy trapped inside a big guy's body. And like I didn't know where this ended. Like my soul felt skinny. And bumping the walls. I'm like, man, that seemed a lot closer than I.
That sounds like half of my life.
Yeah.
But and then sometimes truth comes into play. Yeah, I've lost since I saw you in July. I think that was. I think I've lost close to 45 pounds, maybe 43.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Yeah. So
congratulations. That's like a third grader.
Yeah, well, I have a grandson, and he's exactly 40 pounds. So it's I lost a grandson, but a grandson worth of fat, which is
you just had to think about that.
Yeah, I had to rephrase that, man. But all my clothes are starting to fit weird, and which is a good problem to have. You know what I mean? I haven't been this weight, dude, in at least 10, 12 years, and I can't stop now. I'm gonna take it to the next level and see where this goes. I'm doing it for the grandbabies. I'm not, because like I said, I've been married, dude, 30 something years. I'm ready to check out anytime. You know what I mean? I'm ready to go. Take me, Jesus, please. But the grandbabies need me, so I'm gonna stick around, man. I got things to do with them, and I enjoy them. I really do. Speaking of woodworking, I made them some knives. They look like cleavers, and made them out of hardwood. The edges are beveled. I'll send you a picture of it, and it's like a safety knife where they can cut bananas and apples and stuff like that. But there's no metal in it. It's all made out of wood, hand polished. I treated it with mineral oil, like legit, man. I could have bought it on Amazon for $10, but no, I gotta make it. Like a dumb.
You got to. You got to.
Yeah.
So have they cut each other's fist off yet?
No. I haven't given it to them yet. I'm letting them air dry a little bit more, and then they'll get them.
Hey, Carlos.
Yes, sir.
Don't give it to Chad. Don't let him hold it.
He'll find a way to cut himself with it. No, it's. I doubt it, but.
How old are your grandkids?
The oldest one just turned 3. One's 2.5, and he's the chunky one. He's the 40-pounder, right?
That's like, the one you just lost.
Like we're talking about in weight wise, yeah. And then I got a 5-month-old. So so I'm good, man. I'm good for a while. So
that's
around.
That's awesome, man. So so you've actually transitioned from clinical dentistry to just doing something totally different, which I was really excited for you. I know our good friend, and I think you're friends with her too, Laura Brenner Studholm.
Yes, sir.
Laura has a site that's devoted to side gigs for dental professionals.
Sure.
And man, you're following your side gig, and I love it. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, right now, of course, I'm always doing the stand up. That's never going to go anywhere. But I don't want to travel. I don't want to stay in motels. I don't want to work, 8 shows in one weekend for $700. I'm too old. I can't do that. I like the clean corporate comedy stuff, but I've put together a fantastic course, a workshop, if you will, on emotional intelligence specifically for dental offices, and it's something that I was practicing without it having a label when I was working clinically, and that was over 2 years ago that I stopped working. But I find that sometimes in dental offices, and the company I work for, fantastic organization, we had 12 offices around Atlanta, and I'd go to different ones, but sometimes I would temp outside of my unit, and I'd find sometimes the teams weren't harmonized. The front didn't really get along with the hygiene didn't, the assistants, they were static. Then
what? In a dental office?
I know. It's crazy.
Chad, have you ever heard of that?
No.
No. I didn't believe it either until I saw it with my own eyes. And it occurred to me, like, what I did was I treated everybody the same. And, I would go above and beyond. I'd probably bring bagels every once in a while. What's $20? You know what I mean? For everybody to grab a little something before. And it was just, how do you talk to people? I'm big on respect. I'm an old school guy. I'll be 54 this summer. I'm a Puerto Rican guy from New Jersey. So respect goes a long way, and I'll treat you the same way you treat me, So I always come out of the gate super friendly and I go above and beyond. I try to be, nice to everyone. Some people, they're not into it. They don't reciprocate, and that's okay. But in our office, you were too close to not get along. And I think sometimes there's miscommunications. You have favoritism. You have, people, chatter behind other people's backs, and that just erodes the fabric of the quality of the office. And patients can tell. At the end of the day, patients can tell when, let's say Lisa at the front desk is pissed off at, Nancy, the hygienist, for X, Y, and Z. Maybe she let a patient stay who showed up a little bit late, or somebody's running, had to use the restroom, and there's time constraints. And I get it. Dental office is a stressful place, but I think everybody needs to, approach it with a sense of grace and a little forgiveness, if you will. You know what I'm saying? And so yeah, I talk about how to eliminate those problems, how to have constructive conversations, problem solve, and communication. I think, like, I joke with my wife. Some people, there's love songs we hear, like, "Oh, they finished my sentences." If people say stuff like that because it doesn't make sense to me. My wife and I, 30-something years, right? 3 sentences into any conversation, neither of us know what the hell the other person is talking about. And I go,
"Where's this coming from?"
What are you talking about? You know what I mean? I go, "I was just talking about changing the tires," and she's like, "Well, the garbage can needs to be moved." And it's, I don't understand how people stay on the same page. So I think 90% of the problems that we have, the miscommunications, is exactly it, miscommunication. So you have to be clear and concise and to the point, man. But it's, or if someone has an idea, like in the dental office, if an assistant has an idea on how to do something a little bit more efficiently, or how to save money, or maybe switch vendors or something, and the person who makes the decision, be it the doctor, the manager, whoever, doesn't lend them an ear, it's sort of like, this is invaluable information that you can share. It can help make the office a little bit better, make you save a few bucks. Maybe it'll look good on my next promotion or whatever. And if you don't acknowledge these people and give them something to do and have them feel like part of the ownership of the practice, I think you're just sort of cutting your people off at the legs and not letting them run as full speed if you can. I know I'm a little bit all over the place, and I'm a big on empathy, guys, man. Like, I had a patient, and I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person. We got 3 dogs, Coco, Butter, and Snickers, and that's their real names. And I know it sounds like a fat guy named them, but don't worry about it. And this lady was upset that she saw a cat that got run over on the way to her appointment, right? And in my mind, I'm like, well, there was nothing anybody can do. I'm not trying to be dismissive, but I had to let her process it, and she was literally crying in the dental chair. And that just boils down to empathy, and whether I can acknowledge, even though I didn't feel the same way, I still had to acknowledge that's how she felt about it. So that's where the emotional intelligence comes from. You got to figure out where people are coming from. I'll give you one more quick example. I had an assistant years ago, and she goes, "Can you help me take this PA? I have a lady with a toothache," and she yelled at me, and I'm like, "What happened?" And I look in the room, and there's a baby sitting in the corner. The lady looked all disheveled. She's got tears in her eyes. I go, "She's got that baby. She probably hasn't slept in 3 days. She probably hasn't taken a shower. Her face is killing her. She's worried about how much this is going to cost." And she snapped at you. "It has nothing to do with you. It's the tooth. Don't take somebody else's problems. Don't take things personally if you don't have to," is what I'm saying. And she's like, "I never thought about that way, Sometimes the toughest people to love are the ones that need it the most. So you got to give her some grace, man. Don't take it personal. Go in there and apologize and take the x-ray. And everybody was cool after that, but I had to just change your perspective just a little bit. And that was 20 years ago. So I've been, implementing a lot of that stuff, and hopefully I can bring it to dental offices that, we could do it virtually, or I can come out and we can have a fun day of it and have a good time.
So I love the messaging, because I think that there's so many important things that you've said there. I've always been a big self-help book kind of guy, because I just wasn't naturally born with all of those skills. And it's like anything I can learn from somebody else's experiences, I try to do that. But so what is your preferred method to share what you've learned about working in a dental office? Is it more of an online format? Is it more of a live format? I mean, what's the ideal recipe for you for an office that, say, is having those struggles where, the front desk hates the hygiene department, hates the assisting department. And I mean, we all have our struggles from time to time, but that can really eat up an office's, vibe and productivity as well.
Sure.
So, what's the ideal method of engagement for you with another office?
Ideally, it's virtual. Like I would like to get 7 to 10 dental offices with up to 10 members each, 100 people, if you will. I think there's a lot to be gained from having that collective with people asking a question where I was thinking the same thing. They were thinking the same thing, and we can get a lot more ground covered in a short period of time than doing it one office at a time. But sometimes, for lack of a better word, you just bought a practice or, something changed, a bunch of people quit, retired, whatever. And it's a shit show, you know what I mean? And no one's doing what they need to be doing. And sometimes you need somebody on the ground, and we can work that out too. So nothing's out of the realm of possibility, but I think online is easiest. You don't have to travel anywhere. You don't have to pay for, for hotel and flights and that type of thing, but you get all the information and you get phone calls. I touch in every 2 weeks for 3 months just to make sure that things are going on. If you have any questions, you can call at any time. So it's not just a one and done. I like to follow up and just make sure that everybody's doing what they need to be doing. All the information in the world isn't going to help you if you're not implementing it.
No, but you've also got to be able, like at times, having the emotional intelligence that you have to notice at times that there may be one particular person in a group that is stirring things up. And so how do you handle that when you know in your heart of hearts, there's one bad egg that's stirring the pot. And maybe it's just not as easy for the dentist to see because, they're in the middle of it all the time and they're getting 57 people talking to them all the time. But you as an outsider, I'm sure a lot of times have to be able to see that as clear as day. And that sometimes one rotten apple will spoil the whole bunch.
There are certain personality types that just aren't team players, man. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's an unfortunate state where sometimes there can be corrective action taken, but those honest conversations with the owner has to happen, and sometimes you gotta let people go. You're just on the wrong bus. You're in the wrong seat on the wrong bus. You need to be going in a different direction, and that's not where we are. I think it's one of those things where I forget what the euphemism is, but you cut off a part to save the whole piece. You know what I'm saying? So that was the most non-impactful analogy, but you know what I'm saying, right? Sometimes,
absolutely.
If they're the toxic person or piece, and everyone says it, then it is what it is. And sometimes you got one more shot and you got to go. So
and sometimes that's the hardest to hear.
Yeah. And I think initially, and you guys, we're not kids, right? We're adults, married, right? Jeff, you're married.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
And if you have kids, you know what I'm talking about. Sometimes the initial shock of a decision or a statement or a comment that you make, that's truth. It hurts up front, but long term, there's peace. If you milk it along and just sort of put a Band-Aid over it, eventually festers, and now you poison the whole office. And once people start leaving, it's going to cost you money to replace them. And that's what we're trying to avoid. Enough people are retiring, and the Great Resignation and all that good stuff, and quiet quitting, people not being as involved in their offices, their jobs as much anymore. And I'm not saying it's like that everywhere, but we've all seen it. We've all seen it.
Yeah. So we had a really great question.
This is a great question, dude. I was about to go to it.
I absolutely love this. Chris Robinson sent it in. Thanks so much for this. It says, what do you suggest, Carlos, for situations when you have two really good team players? Like they're both team players. They're both on the right bus with you. And they're in the right seats with you, and they both want to be team players, but they butt heads. because maybe they're too similar in personality type. I've seen this as well, where you had two really great employees. Maybe they bring different things to the table, even, but that they're both great for your team. But those two just by themselves can't seem to get along well.
I'll take it a step back before I answer that one.
Sure.
If you're the owner, the doctor, whatever, right? The manager, whoever owns the place, right? And you know, and you should be once a week. Hey, Carlos, Jeff, chat, come into my office. Let's just chat for 5 or 10 minutes before lunch if you get a chance, right? How are things? Anything going on? Any concerns? And it's a closed door. You can tell me, whatever you want. And I think that concern from the owner goes a long way. Oh no, things are great, Doc. Thanks for asking. I appreciate it. I'm going to Chick-fil-A. You need anything? No, I'm good. I just want to see how you were doing. I can't tell you how invaluable that would be. A person who's got their finger on the pulse of their team members would know, hey, employee A is great at bookkeeping and ordering supplies. And I'm just using general, things.
Right.
And employee B is great at making the schedule and confirming patients. Give them separate duties. Don't let them overlap their duties. You know what I'm saying? And when they do overlap, whoever the controlling party is, be the third person in to sort of dilute their energies. And if they're both too valuable to let go, then they got to figure out a way to work together. Is the bottom line. Again, there's no magic formula, but I think. Well, I find that honest conversation when you be like, listen, when you do X, Y, and Z, it kind of annoys me when you do this, and I don't know if that's intentional. Maybe I'm just a little bit too sensitive. Oh no, I thought you liked when I turned the lights off on the way out the door, or whatever the case, whatever the issue is. You know what I'm saying? I think those honest conversations need to happen. And if someone's being combative, then that's a different story. But I think if in this scenario, I think we can figure out how to make them work together and be happy with it.
So I love this, and I'm just going to take one pearl away, is that when you've got two people that are on the right bus, they're in the right seats, but they're butting heads. I think what you're saying is that don't have their duties overlap. Give them a specific set of duties and make sure that they don't necessarily have to work together, but they're still working towards the common goal.
Right. And if they do have to, overlap, then there needs to be I think a third person in there to sort of, translate, if you will, or diffuse that energy. Because some people just have that high intense energy. We've all worked with people that if you say, hey, can you move this thing over there? It's an emotional mess. I'm an emotional person, but you know what I'm talking about. People that are you're afraid to say anything to because you're going to get, you're going to upset them or they're going to cry or, that type of thing. And, I'm an emotional guy, man. I like everyone to like me, but I'm old enough to realize that not everyone's going to, and I'm okay with that. I'm not wild about it, but I can live with it, because if you don't like me, then it's you, because I'm freaking lovable, bro.
So, and we got a great follow-up question from Sarah Morris, who it's so good to have back. Is so if you have multiple people in a setting, so she's saying specifically, if you have multiple hygienists, right? Do you want to try to hire different personality types, or her specific question is do you recommend having differing personality styles for your multiple hygienists? I'm leery of having two of the same type of personality. I'm interviewing right now, and I'm trying to decide, what would be the perfect fit. So, Sarah, great question. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this, Carlos.
I guess it depends on. You guys are making me think, man. I thought we came to tell jokes, but no, this is fantastic. The tone of the office. What's the tone? Are you a super technical, super serious, super high fancy, high tech type of office where everything's, for lack of a better word, a little fancy, right? Or are you kind of like the small town, happy-go-lucky, we talk about golfing and fishing type of office? You know what I mean? And I think originally the team members have to match the energy of everyone else in the office. in a comedy club, if you are a comedian and let's say you murder, you're up there just killing it, right? But you're talking trash about the club, you make fun of the waitresses, you make fun of the DJ, you're pissing people off. It doesn't matter how great you are, they're not going to have you back. You can be mediocre, but you tip well. You're very respectful. You don't get drunk. You're not trying to hit on the waitresses. You're an easy person to work with. I think that goes a lot further than just pure skill, in my opinion. So you want to get them close enough to fit as part of the group, but everybody has their own quirks. I don't think I've met anybody who's as weird as I am, I think, in the dental office, but I would get away with murder with patients just because they knew that I was a comedian and we were having fun, and if I can make them laugh, that's a different scenario between one of my other hygienists who was super perio driven and very to the, you know what I'm saying, very, very strict, and people that wanted that serious hygienist went with her. So I think a little variety is the spice of life, isn't it? You know, you can't have 10 of the same.
I would totally agree. I think that we have 3 different personalities in our practice, and I think that it's wonderful because no matter how good you think any of them are, somebody's not going to like them, and you have to have somebody that's a little bit more appropriate for that patient's personality.
Exactly.
And so I think variety is the spice of life. I think it's nice to have different personalities in that type of practice. And if you're you're kind of pigeonholed if you've got only one hygienist or one type of hygienist. You don't have anywhere to send them. Yeah. You know, oh, so-and-so talks too much. Okay, well, I'll put you with so-and-so who also talks too much.
Yeah. I'll switch you to another one who talks. He talks even more than the last one.
Yeah. Or if you have a cat person and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to put you with the other cat person. They need a dog person, damn it.
I've had patients, not want to see me because they just saw a male hygienist and they were like, no, I'm like, but the doctor's a guy. What's the difference? I don't know. It's just the hygienist, and I've had this happen twice in 20 years and they're both females at the same time, and they asked me if I was gay, if I was a homosexual, and both times I laughed, and they're like, well, what's so funny? I'm like, it's funny you mentioned that because I'm not, but my husband is. And, and the look of frustration and anger on their faces and confusion, like what the, you know what I mean? and I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, listen, I'm a comedian, from New Jersey. What are you, out of your mind? You just open the door. Do you want to go down this road? And it's one of those things where they'll go, okay. So, and both times they were upset and they wanted to see somebody else. And that's fine. Because if you're going to ask me crazy personal questions, hey, when you're not here, who do you sleep with? What are you, out of your mind? You're asking people stuff like that. What's wrong with you? You know what I mean? That's not an appropriate question. And, but you got to do what you got to do.
Wow, that's wild. I love something that you said before too, because at the end of the day in the office, it's really, and every time I hire somebody, the first conversation that I have with them is like, really, I don't care if you make mistakes, admit them. You're going to make mistakes. I make mistakes every day. It's like, let's figure out the mistake. Let's admit it. Let's fix it. Let's figure out how to make it not happen again. And let's move on.
For sure.
That's it. But the most important thing in my office, and I think for a lot of offices, is we just all have to have each other's back in here. You have my back. Mm-hmm. I've got yours. If I think you're always looking out for me, when you call me and you say, I know I don't have any days left, but, my brother-in-law is, getting this award and I want to go see him and I don't have any days left. If you've got my back all the time, my God, am I going to tell you no? No, mm-hmm. I'm going to always have your back the same way, but they need to have each other's backs in the office as well, because to me, when somebody shows that they have another employee's back, indirectly, they have my back at the same time. It's supporting the larger structure.
Exactly.
So I love what you said about that.
Like, someone's running behind, and as far as hygiene and their instruments from the previous patient are stacking up, and you're done. just knock them out. You know what I mean? Throw them an ultrasonic and just give them a little help. You know what I mean? I think that goes a long way. I always appreciated when someone did stuff like that for me. And but it takes me back to this this idea, Chad. I'm getting a new tattoo, and it's gonna be the words just be intentional, right? Because you got to intend, like the whole weight loss and the getting healthy thing. It's intentional. I'm doing it for a reason. So I don't want to waste time doing things that are haphazard and just not planned out. I want to be intentional with every move I make. And I think that tattoo is going to say a lot more than the last dental tattoo that I got, and which turned out to be a nightmare, man. You never seen it, have you, Jeff? No, well, my son's got a couple tattoos, and I go, can you call your guy? I want to get a tattoo to represent dentistry's king of comedy. He goes, sounds weird, but whatever. So he calls the guy, Mark, and he's like, hey, Mark, can we come down? We make an appointment. We go down. I tell Mark what I want. I go, I want a tooth with a crown on it. He goes, a dental crown? I'm like, no, don't be a wise ass, Mark. A king crown, like a royal crown. He goes, right on. So he comes back and he made it look very aggressive. It looked like Leonidas from 300, right? I'm like, that's too mean, bro. I need him happy. I want him smiling. A tooth, I need him. He goes, so you want teeth on the tooth? I'm like, well, it sounds stupid when you say it like that, but yeah, that's exactly what I want. He goes right on, and he takes off and he comes back with a drawing. It's black and white. And I'm like, yes, that's silly, perfect, real easy. Let's do it, right? So he gets done. He goes, check it out, dude. I add a little bit of color to it. And I'm like, color? And I get up in the mirror, and this is what I see. I don't know if you can see it. Hold on a sec. Can you? Where is it? I go, what is that? I go, is that, where is it? I go, is that a crotch, man? It's your goatee. Like, I don't want him to look like me. He goes, I even gave him your eye color. I'm like, what are you doing looking at my eye?
Oh, not in the furcation, man. Not in the furcation.
I'm going around with this nonsense on my arm, right? I get home, and my wife, who doesn't pull any punches, dude, she goes, let's see the tattoo. Let's see it. I show her, and she goes, wow. And I'm like, what? She goes, well, you don't like wearing tank tops anyway. And I'm like, it's too crazy to get rid of now. I got to keep the stupid tattoo. And anyway, if you see it up close, people ask me, did you just draw that for this? I'm like, nah, unfortunately, it's real. It is absolutely 100% real. It's the worst description of a tooth I've ever seen in my life. But
I love the story, man. I love the story. I
story.
love the intention too, man. I love the intention.
I think, life is too short. We got to laugh more. They say that your average 5-year-old laughs a couple hundred times a day, and the average adult, guys our age, 10 to 12. And I'm like, man, that's just sad, bro. That is just absolutely sad. We need to laugh a little bit more. And I'm the guy to bring it. I just want to make people laugh, and I want to be the guy to bring it to them. So check out Carlos RDH if you don't mind. And okay, can I talk about the podcast real quick? I have
that was our next question.
With my buddy Sandy Lee, and and our punchline is go floss yourself. And
I like that.
Yeah, it's on iTunes everywhere. It's called Off Your Flosser. It's absolutely ridiculous. We talk about food and and life, really. Just it's absolutely absurd. But it's one of those things where it's the anti-serious dental podcast, because a lot of them are all about how to make $1 million and occlusion. Exciting stuff like occlusion. I'm not making fun of, I'm not shitting on anybody's podcast.
That's one of the reasons you were such a perfect fit for us is, when we started this, the whole goal was, how do we have a few laughs with everyone out there and kind of talk about important stuff, but maybe laugh at ourselves along the way, because we all F up, right? Like every single one of us screws up, and let's laugh about it. Let's talk about it, and let's see how many others have done the same thing. It's, it's really, we can't look at ourselves or take ourselves too seriously. And that's where this platform came from. So we so appreciate that people like you are out there and doing this and bringing light. Because really, I mean, it can get pretty rough when you get locked into your little dental world and things aren't going great in your practice. And, 3 people came in complaining that day because they're sensitive or things didn't go well. And, if you don't share that with other people and learn to laugh at it and hear 10 other people say, oh yeah, I had the same exact experience, man. Life can be tough.
Yeah, I think you got to own your mistakes, like you were saying, and not everything's that's what we call it practicing dentistry, right? Nothing comes out, it's not 100% every time. But I always told my patients, I'm like, listen, or if they're complaining about the doctor or previous dentist, I'm like, listen, I'm not going to tell you that we're perfect and everything we do is 100%. But if there is a problem, we're going to fix it. So it's not so much that something happened, but how do they take care of it? How do they recover from it? So you got to have, again, a little grace, a little patience, and we'll get you figured out. It's not a problem. And I think just having that confidence and telling them, hey, we're going to take care of you. It's not an issue. Eliminates 97% of the problems. I mean, you got your crazies out there, you know what I mean, that ask weird questions, but what are you going to do? That makes it fun, I think,
Carlos, I one thing that I've noticed is that you make dentistry fun, and you make people laugh, and I try to make people laugh in the chair too. And sometimes you get the laugh, and sometimes you just make yourself laugh. But I really appreciate it, and I think that
I told you to quit undressing in front of the patients, Chad.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
I told you that, Carlos, I would probably be the first person to get inappropriate on the show, and damn it, it's happened again.
There we go.
Yeah.
We're all friends here, and guys, I can't thank you enough for having me on, man. And I see all these people signing in and making comments, so that's super cool, man. I appreciate it.
I just got a wonderful text that said, this Carlos is a great guy. Thank you. I think everybody needed a good laugh. So thank you very much.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure. I can't thank you enough. Thank you.
Well, no, it was great, man. And I will say this, guys from Jersey, we get a bad rap, right? Sure. Like there's a bad rap, but you know what? I mean, some of the best people and most good-hearted people I've ever met in my life have been from where I grew up in New Jersey. I'm not saying we're all good like anywhere else, but
yeah. I went to Catholic school, man, and and it was weird because we were poor, man, but my mom scraped enough money to send us to Catholic school, which is around the corner, literally around the corner, from our house, so we didn't have to walk far. And some of the friends that I made at that school, we get together once or twice a year, and we burn some burgers and drink too much, And now it's not what is it? What Old Milwaukee, the old cheap beer, you know what I mean? Now one of my buddies owns a liquor store, and he brings some high end whiskey. Don't ask me what it is. I have no idea. We always overdo it, and we'll remind me to tell you a couple of those stories later on. But the point is that. One, Jersey guys, you get to know them. They're not bad. They'll kill for you, literally, and help you hide a body.
Maybe a little rough around the edges to start with, but
some of the best people and some of the best friends I had, and we call each other brothers, and it's absolute blessing. So shout out to those guys. But anything else? You guys want to know anything else?
Man, I think we nailed it, and I think we got some freaking great questions, great comments, awesome. Lots of interaction, and I put everybody in touch with your podcast, Off Your Flosser, you and Sandy Lee, and
yes, sir.
I hope that everybody gives it a listen, and I hope that we can have you back sometime.
My pleasure. Just say the word. All right, guys.
Bet, man.
Carlos, you have a great night, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. Be good. Thanks for
you bet. We'll talk to you soon, Carlos.
You got it.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
And that wraps up another podcast for Dentists in the Know. On behalf of Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and myself, remember that we've got a great profession, so let's make it a great day, Dinks.